Hi everyone, Brad Wright here from the Single Malt Whisky Club, and today I am really so happy to be chatting to Mark and Jane Sawford from Overeem Single Malt Whisky, and that must feel good to hear that, Jane and Mark. Cheers.
It does, like music to our ears, Brad.
Yeah, sure does. Thanks for having us on, Brad.
I'll bet it is. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be working with you. We have enjoyed it so much so far, and I guess at this stage, we've done all the groundwork. Now we're just waiting to enjoy watching the bottles walk out our door, which we know they're going to. And look, thanks very much for being here. I guess we'll just kick this off. It's just a few sort of, general questions about the industry and about your role in it and stuff. So I guess the first thing, I guess everybody who's watching this knows Jane. A lot of people might not know Mark. There's the elephant in the room. So let's get that out of the way. If you guys could both just give us a quick rundown on your experience in the industry.
You go for it.
Yeah. Well, my experience in the whiskey industry specifically probably starts from when I met Jane back in 2012, I believe, not just a few months after you guys
launched
Overeem.
Yeah.
And although I'm sort of new to the industry as such, I suppose the industry doesn't feel particularly foreign to me because I've sort of been involved from a third party perspective per se since then. Helping Jane set up for events and masterclasses and attending events and masterclasses and trade shows and so forth since that time. Although it's new for me now being officially involved, I've sort of been semi-involved since 2012. And my background's hospitality anyway, whether it be venue management or venue ownership. So it was a pretty smooth transition coming into the whiskey industry.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
hey, give us a rundown. We know yours is going to be pages long. Let's hear.
Yeah.
I'll do the really short. I'll do the one of when I started, I guess. So I was actually trying to figure this out just about an hour ago, how long I've been in the industry for, and it was since I was 18. So if you want to know how old I am, that's 15 years. So 15 years now, and when I was 18, Dad took me on my first whiskey experience. We went to the Malt Whisky Society of Australia inaugural malt whisky convention, and that was when I did my first tasting of 6 whiskies over morning tea. It was a fantastic experience, and I'll never forget it.
Awesome.
It was just the start of everything, which I'm not going to run down you on the last 15 years, but that was the start of it. Yeah. Fair
call. And speaking of that 15 years, it's like I've said in our newsletter, we set up the Single Malt Whisky Club the same year as your dad, and you were setting up the old Obar distillery where Overeem was first produced in. So I guess that's part of the warm fuzzies that I get is we sort of all got into the industry at the same time, albeit in different facets. But I also said in my newsletter, like that trip that I made down to your mum and dad's place all those years ago was one of the defining moments, I think, of my career in whiskey. Your dad just said all the right stuff. I think I was at that stage where it was, is this really a career or is this just a hobby or what? But it was your dad's encouragement, I think, that really made me, like I said, it really made me feel legitimate in the industry that we were having we had a role to play in the Australian whiskey industry. So absolutely fantastic. So I guess that's where a lot of my sort of fond memories of Overeem come from. So in the Overeem distillery, how do you guys break the labour up? Have you got any specific assigned roles?
Yeah, we do. I'm glad you asked that question actually, because we've quite often been asked, how do you guys go working together, being married? Like, do you fight and do you annoy each other?
The answer is yes.
The answer is no.
Yes.
So we actually work quite well together because, you said the exact words. We have defined roles. Mark is very much production management and making sure everything runs smoothly in that department. And then when it comes to anything sales and marketing, that's where I come in. So, yeah, and we've got one staff member at the moment, Nicole Harris. She's our distiller, but she's also very much upskilled in the rest of the business. She does packing, posting, emails, or you name it. she does it, but when she has any questions about production, she really goes to Mark, and when she's got any sales and marketing questions, she goes to me. So I guess that, yeah, we do have defined roles, and it works really well.
Yeah, but I suppose the nature of small business is everyone's hands-on in every area.
That's
but,
right.
yeah, Jane's absolutely right. I think it'd be a lot messier if we didn't have the defined roles. No. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, so you set up your own distillery. You called it Sawford. Apart from the obvious, what drove you to buy back the Overeem brand?
Yeah, gosh. Look, when we were approached to buy back the brand, it wasn't a no-brainer, but it was. I was very strongly geared towards, please let this happen. I really hope this happens. So, because it was just an emotional thing. I was just so connected to the brand. I never really let it go. And when I actually came home after having that meeting, I said to Mark, what do you think? And he just said, 100%. If we can do it, let's do it, because, he knows, how important the brand is, not only to me, but to customers. And we wanted to see the brand of Overeem grow into the future. And if we could be a part of that, then we were ready to take that on with arms wide open, I think. Yeah.
Because I think a big part of what we were doing prior to that opportunity, I mean, we really wanted to tell, an authentic story. And so we were going to be mentioning Overeem a lot in our storytelling anyway, because it's part of Jane's history and to some extent part of my history too. Yeah. So we were going to be telling that story regardless. So then to be presented with the opportunity to get the brand back, it just it seemed
made sense.
It made perfect sense. Yeah.
So the distillery was Sawford. It's now, you're actually calling it not just the whiskey itself, but you're changing the whole name of the distillery to Overeem.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you plan on doing with the spirit that you had already made under the Sawford banner?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a question that we get asked often. I think we've been making new make spirit here, which is very, very similar to Overeem new make. In many regards, we feel as though that we've made some improvements with regards to. We hope that we've made some improvements.
We like to
think we have. Yeah. So left to single cask maturation, the whiskey will be very similar to Overeem single malt. But our original intentions prior to getting the brand back was to create some product that was we'll experiment a little with cask variation, with cask finishes, with marriages, and so when our product that we put down back in 2016 comes to maturation in 2022 and onwards, we may still go down that strategy and down that line. As to whether or not we will release it under the Overeem umbrella or under another umbrella remains to be seen.
Fair enough. Jane, this one's for you. It's a bit out of order. What is your favourite memory of the distillery in your front yard at your mum and dad's place, the old Hobart? Because look, when I went down there, as I said, when I first saw it, it was just like nothing I was imagining. Like I was driving up the driveway going, I've got a bum steer here somewhere. I've done something wrong because I'm in suburban Hobart. And then I saw the shed, and then I saw your dad. And so, but what's your favourite memory of those old days, Jane?
Oh, look, one of them is actually doing my first distillation on my own down there. If anyone that's watching knows Dad and knows how meticulous he is, and he's I shouldn't say controlling, but he likes to have everything done a certain way. He's very particular. Yeah. So I did a lot of training with him, and when I actually did my first distilling run, I was nervous, but also just so excited that I was actually doing it on my own, and I felt as though it was all going really well, and it was sort of nice to just to be doing it on my own, but know that Dad was only a stone's throw away, literally up in the house. He did a good job in not coming down that day. That was my day to do it on my own. So look, that's one of my favourite memories.
That would have been hard for Casey too.
I know, not to come down and check.
But it was. And have you still got some bottles of that one, your first expression that you laid down? Have you still got bottles of that?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I'd have to check. I've got a lot of archived Overeem stock, but whether I've actually got that particular run, I'd have to look back. So I would be able to trace it back. I should do. Yeah.
I'd love to have a drink with you with that one time. That'd be great. And when you guys were setting up Sawford, and also then again when you were considering purchasing Overeem, I'm sure, as you said before, Casey likes to be involved. I'm sure he gave you some advice, both setting up the distillery and buying the old brand back. Pieces of advice from Casey. Was there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Well, yeah.
So you say yours.
Well, in regards to purchasing the brand back, Casey remained pretty quiet with that. You know, like I said, he really sort of wanted to leave it. I mean, he suggested that there'd be some benefits with regards to purchasing an established brand, but he really left that in our court as to what we wanted to do and what we wanted to achieve in our whiskey journey. But with regards to setting up the distillery, yeah, absolutely. Casey had loads of invaluable advice, and which proved to one, save us a lot of money, save us a lot of time, but also get us up and operating much faster than we would have otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, completely agree with all of that. And I guess one of the things that we really remember every day, and we use in all the decisions we make, is just to do something well, and not always do it quickly. I'm a quite quick, fast person, but to do things carefully and do things well. And I think that's one of the biggest things Dad's taught us, in all decisions that we make. And that's really helped.
I remember day one of my whiskey distilling apprenticeship. Casey's first thing was just remember, Mark, near enough is awful.
Yeah.
And so he sort of set the tone quite early that, like, attention to detail is everything.
No cutting corners.
Do not cut corners. We don't. It's not about speed. It's about being thorough and paying attention to every little piece of detail and making sure that things are done right.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a thinking question. Apart from the number of distilleries that are popping up in Tasmania, what do you see as the biggest change in the whiskey industry, so let's say over the last 10 or 15 years, and what do you see happening in the next 10 years? What big changes do you think will happen in the next 10 years?
It is a big thinking question.
Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of innovation in the next 10 years moving forward.
No, go. Yep.
A lot of people trying. I mean, we're already starting to see that now. People trying to, really focus on what their point of difference is and how they can sort of stand as individuals or individual sort of brands and so forth, and really separate themselves from the pack. So we're seeing that already. As far as how it's changed, that might be a question you'll better answer.
Yeah, well, I was going to say scale, because a lot of the distilleries, including Overeem, when we started, we weren't making a lot. So we've upscaled, and I know a lot of the other distilleries have as well. There are several distilleries that are still very small and are producing a small amount, but I think, one of the big changes is that a lot of those distilleries that were started 10, 15 years ago, like you asked, have scaled up quite substantially. So that's good to see. That's great.
There you go. Yep. And Tasmanian whiskey itself, do you think it has a style of its own? And if so, what do you think the Tasmanian whiskey style is?
I definitely think it's got a style of its own. I think there's so many different whiskies coming out of Tasmania from different distilleries, and sometimes I wonder how they are so different, given that we're using barley from the same source. We're using very similar style stills, and we could be ordering from the same winery for barrels. However, the spirit is very different. But I think one thing that carries through across majority of the Tasmanian distilleries is that beautiful, rich, oily mouthfeel that comes from the Tasmanian barley. And I know a lot of people on the mainland that love drinking Tassie whiskey say that they love that mouthfeel that they get from a Tassie whiskey. A lot of other Aussie whiskies have that mouthfeel too, but it is something that really carries across majority of the Tasmanian single malt.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sitting here enjoying a wee dram of cask 234 at the moment, and I'm nodding. I'm nodding at everything.
Nodding.
Yeah.
Fantastic. One last question for you. We're at the end of the line. It's nearly done. How do you drink your whiskey when you're not working?
Depending on time and place, I suppose. Depending with whom, but I'd probably say most of the time, if not all the time, it'd be neat. Depending on what whiskey too, but neat and with good friends and family.
Yeah, I love it neat as well. And normally with cask strength whiskies, I like a couple of drops of water. Even more than a couple of drops of water in my cask strengths. Maybe I'm a little weak, but my palate doesn't seem to get any better, I guess, with cask strength whiskies. I love them. I love the complexity of them, but I do really love them once I've opened it up a little bit.
Oh, look, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. Look, that's all I've got for you today. I once again, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to work with you guys with the relaunch. I want to wish you all the very, very best of luck with the brand. I want you to put a couple of drams aside for me because I'm trying to get down to Tasmania bloody soon so that I can come and have a drink with you guys.
That'd be awesome. That'd be great.
No, thanks, Brad. Thanks so much for having us on because, when you first connected again after all these years when we got Overeem back, I couldn't wait to work with you again. You were there from the beginning with us, as you said, and we've got just as fond memories of you and you visiting us as you do. Of visiting us, and we can't thank you enough for partnering with us to release to your members. I hope the members get on board with getting a bottle of this whiskey because it's a real treat.
It's delicious.
Yeah,
absolutely delicious.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you can't see me because you've made a little tear come to my eyes. I can't thank you enough. It's just been fantastic. Everybody, Mark and Jane Sawford from the all-new, relaunched Overeem Single Malt Whisky brand. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the experience. And thank you so much for the whiskey and for the future whiskies we'll all be drinking.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks for having us. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Cheers, Mark and Jane. Cheers. Thank you very much. Bye now.